So this topic of how the method side of the path is necessary will come up as we go along with this Holiness, this commentary. But it's very important, because otherwise we say, well, our mind is already empty, it's already pure of inherent existence that way, so am I already Buddha? Well, if you are, check if you have all the other Buddha qualities, because those other qualities are developed through the developing Buddha nature. Okay, so we have to practice both aspects of the path. If we just create merit and purify, it's wonderful, but we won't realize emptiness. If we just meditate on emptiness, but we don't do the method side of the path, after a while we might lose energy because we don't have much motivation. Why should I meditate on emptiness? Okay, so we need both of them together. So at certain times in our practice, we may emphasize the method side, at certain times the wisdom side. It's recommended in every meditation session to do a little bit, at least, of both of them. And that is usually to make sure we generate the bodhicitta motivation at the beginning of our session, and at the end, when we dedicate, to meditate on what they call the emptiness of the circle of three, or sometimes another translation is the threefold purity. And what this means is that you, as the agent doing the meditation, the meditation object itself, the object, and then the recipient, or kind of what your purpose for, which could be to awakening, or it could be the benefit of sentient beings. Then all of those lack inherent existence. Okay, so that's how you incorporate in the dedication. You started out with bodhicitta, method side. You end with dedicating, and you make sure you include that meditating on the circle of three, the emptiness of the circle of three then. Okay, so let's see. Anybody remember what page in the commentary we...
Very bottom of page 33, understanding the two truths.
Okay, that's in the commentary or the PDF?
The commentary.
Okay, do you know what the PDF is?
39.
39, okay. Okay, so it was, understanding the two truths. Okay, the second section. Okay. Oh, AI is trying to assist me. How do I say no thank you? It wants me to agree to something. It's not. Okay, I think I got rid of it there, then it appears another part on my screen. You try to disable it, but it... Okay, so the section on understanding the two truths. So the Heart Sutra reads, they should perfectly see that even the five aggregates are empty of inherent existence. Form is empty. Change that. It says here, form is emptiness. That is incorrect. Its form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form too is not other than emptiness. You'll note when we chant it, we always say form is empty. Okay? So, why not say form is emptiness? Well, because form is a conventional truth. Yeah, emptiness is an ultimate truth. Yeah, they're perceived by different cognizers. They are not the same thing. Okay? If they were the same thing, then realizing form, perceiving form, you would say, oh, well, I'm perceiving emptiness. But we're not. Okay? So emptiness is a quality or a characteristic of form. It's the ultimate nature of form. It is not form. And similarly, although it says later on here, emptiness is form, it doesn't mean that literally. You know, we'll get to the explanation of what that means. Yeah. But otherwise, it can be very confusing. I remember when I first was reading the Heart Sutra, and the translation I had said form is emptiness. And I said, no, it can't be emptiness. Yeah? And I couldn't figure it out. But that was an introduction to beginning to realize that you don't take everything literally in the sutras, or even in the commentaries. Yeah, they write things in a way so that you have to think about it and what does it really mean. And then we rely on the panditas, the scholars, the adepts, to unpack the meaning for us. Yeah. Okay, so His Holiness says, this passage represents Avalokiteshvara's summary response to Shariputra's question about how to practice the perfection of wisdom. Okay, you want a summary, Shariputra? These 4 phrases. That's it. You got it. Yeah, realized emptiness yet? Shariputra has. He's an arhat. Then you might say, but he's an arhat. Why is he asking Avalokiteshvara this question? And Buddha's sitting there, so why in the world is Avalokiteshvara answering? You know, don't you always show respect to your teacher and ask your teacher to explain that? You know, why is Avalokiteshvara doing it? So there's a number of theories why. Okay. Some of them I don't particularly think are so nice, or one of them I don't think is so nice. But another explanation for this is that Shariputra, you know, sees that sentient beings need to understand what emptiness is. So he asks the question. It's not because he needs to understand emptiness, but because sentient beings need to. And Avalokiteshvara replies also, but not because he's cutting his teacher, the Buddha, off and saying, I know better than my teacher, but because the Buddha, as they say, inspired or blessed Avalokiteshvara's mind so that he would explain it. Okay? So everybody, has a slightly different motivation than we might initially think. You know, like, Shariputra's an arhat. He's asking what emptiness is. Oh, does that mean he's not really an arhat, or that arhats don't realize emptiness? No, it doesn't mean that. Avalokiteshvara answered, we might think, oh, he's being so rude to his teacher. How can he be a bodhisattva? This is terrible. No, it doesn't mean that. Yeah. Then you say, well, but if you say the Buddha inspired Avalokiteshvara's mind, and also, you could say he inspired Shariputra's mind to ask the question. Yeah. But Buddha was in meditation. How could he do that? Does that mean he was distracted in his meditation? No, it doesn't mean that. Yeah. He has the power to do those things. So you see, we have to understand things properly. Yeah. Okay. So the phrase empty of inherent existence is Avalokiteshvara's reference to the most subtle, most profound understanding of emptiness, the absence of inherent existence. So when it says empty of inherent existence, okay, now you remember a few times ago we talked about the definitive and the interpretable sutras, and how later in this sutra, Avalokiteshvara says, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, okay? And we're saying, oh, well, then if this is a definitive sutra, then he's saying those things just plain old don't exist. Yeah? So it's nihilism. Let's hear it for nihilism. But, the Prasangikas say, no, this is a definitive sentence, a definitive sutra, but you cannot take that line just as it reads separate from the rest of the sutra, because in another place in the same sutra, and this is where it is, it says, even the five aggregates are empty of inherent existence. So mentioning inherent existence there in the sutra, then you take it and you add it on to all the other places, which makes the sutra more powerful in a way, because if you have to say, there is no inherently existent form, no inherently existent sound, no inherently existent, it's going to take the force of it out, and it becomes rather cumbersome to recite it. But if you say no form, no feeling, and so on, it kind of wakes you up. Oh wait, but I think form exists. So what does this mean? He's not saying form doesn't exist. He's talking about a certain type of existence, inherent existence. That doesn't exist, but the form conventionally exists. And this is where we get into the two truths. Okay. So the phrase empty of inherent existence is Avalokiteshvara's reference to the most subtle, most profound understanding of emptiness, the absence of inherent existence. Avalokiteshvara then goes into more detail, beginning with the line, form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form too is not other than emptiness. So it is important to avoid the mistaken view that emptiness is an absolute reality or an independent truth. So some people say, well, if you analyze everything and you can't find what it is, and everything is, all you find is emptiness, then emptiness must be an absolute truth, something that just is permanent, it exists out there, independent of everything. Like when people say, oh, there's one mind and we're all, or there's one substance out of which everything arises. That too, kind of wanting to find one thing that is an absolute, permanent, unchanging thing that is the source of everything. So some people might want to do that with emptiness. Okay? And His Holiness is saying, okay? So this does not refer to some kind of great emptiness out there somewhere, but to the emptiness of a specific phenomena, in this case, form or matter. Okay, so if you think emptiness is some, out there, automatically, naturally, independently existent thing, that's not the way when we have to think of emptiness. It isn't like that, okay? To talk about emptiness, we have to talk about the emptiness of the thermos and the emptiness of the gong, the emptiness of the striker, the emptiness of the clock, the emptiness of me, the emptiness of you, okay? Because emptiness we only speak of in reference to an object that exists that has emptiness as its own nature, okay? Yeah, so that's why His Holiness says it doesn't refer to some kind of great emptiness out there somewhere, but to the emptiness of a specific phenomena, in this case, form or matter. The statement that apart from form there is no emptiness, okay, or form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Okay. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. Okay. It's important to avoid the mistaken view that emptiness is an absolute reality or an independent truth. Emptiness must be understood as the true nature of all phenomena. Thus we read, form is empty. Okay, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form too is not other than emptiness. Okay, so we went through that. The statement that apart from form there is no emptiness suggests that the emptiness of form is nothing other than form's ultimate nature. Okay, so apart from form, you're not going to find form's emptiness. Okay. Form lacks inherent or independent existence, thus its ultimate nature is emptiness. This ultimate nature, emptiness, is not independent of form, but rather is a characteristic of form. Emptiness is form's mode of being. One must understand form and its emptiness, and here it says one and the same. That's not a good translation. They are not one and the same. They are not identical phenomena, okay? When it says they are not two independent realities, that's correct. But when you say one and the same in English, it implies that they're exactly the same, but they aren't, because form is a conventional truth, or what we say a veiled truth, and emptiness is the ultimate truth. Okay, so they are one nature, yeah, but they are different nominally, or they are different isolates. Okay, so you can't separate them and say that they exist in two different places at two different times. They exist simultaneously, yeah, but they are not exactly the same. Okay. So let us look now more closely at Avalokiteshvara's two statements, that form is empty and emptiness is form. The first statement, form is empty, implies that what we recognize as form comes into being as a result of many causes and conditions, not by its own independent means. Okay, so form is empty, yeah. We usually think, okay, it's empty. What does that mean? Well, form exists, so it must come into existence depending on causes and conditions. Okay? It exists. How does it exist? Doesn't come out of, God or some permanent substance or some independent mind that went poof. It arose due to many, many causes and conditions. Okay? When we talk about causes and conditions, we talk about usually a substantial cause, which means the basic thing that becomes the result. Yeah? So if we're talking about the table, the wood is the substantial cause of the table. Yeah? Then, for the wood to become the table, that doesn't arise out of the nature of the wood by itself. Yeah, you need the tree, you need the logger, you need the saw, you need the person who brought the tree to the mill, you need the miller, you need the carpenter who built it. There's so many different causes and conditions that are necessary for the wood to become the table. Yeah, so the substantial cause is the main thing, but it alone is not sufficient. Yeah, and similarly, each condition alone is not sufficient. Yeah, so it's a whole big thing, and when you really think about all, or try to think about all the causes and conditions that come into making something, it just boggles your mind. Yeah, because if you're going to talk about, well, the cooperative condition is the lumberjack, the logger who cut it down. Well, where did the lumberjack, where did he come from? Well, his parents, and all the food he ate. Where does all the food he ate? Then you start thinking about all the causes and conditions until that were the cause of the food the logger ate, and it just goes back and back and back and back. And, it's just humongous to understand the whole thing. But the point is that all of those causes and conditions contribute to, the dependent arising of the table. Mm-hmm. Okay. So because the table arises from many causes and conditions, it is not an independent object. It is a dependent object. Yeah. Being dependent and being independent are contradictory. Something cannot be both at the same, Okay. So form is dependent. It's not independent. Independent means the same as inherent. When we talk about independent existence, yeah, most translators translate independent as, or gloss it, I should say, as meaning the same thing, independent existence and inherent existence. Once in a while you come up with a translator that glosses it differently. But the word independent can have different meanings in different contexts. But in this context, it means inherent existence. Okay. So because it depends on many things, it doesn't exist independently. Thus, you cannot find any inherent nature. Yeah. To have an inherent nature, there must be something that when you analyzed, you could find that is the table. Yeah. And when you analyze, you can't really come up with something. If you say the wood is the table, somebody's going to say, no, the wood isn't the table, because, if you just have a piece of wood here, that's not a table. It needs all these other things going on to make it into a table. So the table doesn't exist with its own independent essence. Okay. Form is a composite phenomena composed of, and also, it comes into form comes into existence depending on many causes and conditions. Form is a composite phenomena composed of many parts. So, what are the parts of form? All these individual objects are the parts of what we consider the broad general category of form. So when we talk about form, not only is it dependent on causes and conditions, it's also dependent on the parts which compose it. Okay, so something, everything that exists has parts. You can't find something that doesn't have parts. Mm-hmm. Okay, so form is a composite phenomena composed of many parts. Because it comes into being and continues to exist based on other causes and conditions, it is a dependent phenomena. This dependence means that form is thus emptiness of any inherent self-existent reality, and therefore form is said to be empty. Okay. Now let us turn to the next statement, that emptiness is form. Since form lacks independent existence, it can never be isolated from other phenomena. Okay, consequently, dependence suggests a kind of openness and malleability in relation to other things. So other things can affect form, okay? The feelings of human beings affect form, yeah? If you're in a good mood, you make nice to the table. If you're in a bad mood, you pound the table, okay? So, yeah. So there's an openness and a malleability in relation to other things because everything affects everything. Yeah. And you can really see that when you live in community. Yeah. Or you try and open your eyes to see that. When somebody in the community is in a bad mood, it affects you, right? If you're in the room, somebody stomps across, or somebody slams the door, or somebody doesn't show up, or somebody, kind of is just sitting there. It affects you. We see that other people affect us. Their bad moods affect us. When we're in a bad mood, do we think it affects everybody else in the community? No. Yeah. Their bad mood affects me. But when I'm in a bad mood, I am entitled to my bad mood, and I don't care what anybody else says or thinks. It's not affecting them. Yeah? And why isn't it affecting them? Because I am completely self-absorbed at that moment. And the only thing I'm thinking about is I, me, my, and mine that are in a bad mood. That doesn't affect anybody else. That is my own personal thing. You see a contradiction in here? Yeah. We kind of have a double standard, don't we? Their bad mood affects me negatively, but my bad mood? It's only me that suffers because I'm in such a bad mood. Very interesting, isn't it? But when things are empty, they affect each other. And our bad mood affects other people in the community. Okay. Because of this fundamental malleability, form is not fixed, but rather subject to change and causality. In other words, since forms arise from interactions of causes and conditions and do not have an independent and fixed reality, they lend themselves to possible interactions with other forms and therefore other causes and conditions. All of this is part of a complex, interconnected reality. So you may have heard some scientists talk about when the butterfly in Singapore flaps its wings, then something big happens in America. What that is referring to is how dependent we are. And, if the butterfly flaps its wings, and, the minister of transportation in Singapore sees it, and it makes him in a good mood. So when he goes to work and he's in a good mood, and he gets a letter from the US saying, we are now shipping all of our stuff to Singapore and we're not paying you for any of it, the guy's in a good mood, and so he says okay, because he saw the butterfly flap his wings. That's what the people in the US are hoping for. Okay? Yeah, that's not what's happening. But, it's just how even small things can make a big difference. Yeah, I've told you many times about the story of my friend who told me that in her younger years, one day she was contemplating suicide. Well, not for one day, but she was, suicidal for a while. But one day when she was walking down the street, some stranger walking towards her just broke into a big smile and said hello. And that shocked her. It woke her up to, there's people in this world that care. And that she didn't think of suicide after that. So just, some small things, somebody smiling, somebody saying hello, it can make a big difference to people. Okay. Because forms have no isolated identity, we can say that form is the basis for the existence of form. Okay? So that doesn't mean that form is there, let's read the rest of this paragraph, and then I'll explain it. In fact, in some sense, we can even say that emptiness creates form. His Holiness says, in some sense, yeah. So emptiness is the basis for the existence of form, meaning that things exist within being empty of inherent existence. Okay? So because things are empty, because the wood is empty, it can be transformed into the table. Okay? The emptiness is not a cause of form. Usually when we say the word create, it means it's a cause or condition. Emptiness does not create form as a cause or condition, but because the ultimate nature of the wood is empty and lacks any inherent existence, that piece of wood can be transformed and become a table. Okay? If the wood were not empty, if it had some inherent nature as wood, that would mean that it wasn't affected by other causes and conditions. Without being affected by other causes and conditions, how is that piece of wood going to become a table? It can't. But the fact that it can change and become something else indicates that it lacks its own inherent nature. Okay, so both the cause, the substantial cause, the wood, lacked inherent nature, and the result, the table, lacked inherent nature. Okay, both of these are empty. Okay, one can then understand the statement that emptiness is form in terms of form being a manifestation or expression of emptiness. The word manifestation, too, to me implies like it's a cause coming from something, but an expression of form, it's form exists within emptiness, okay? Because things are empty, form can exist, okay? Something that is, form is a manifestation or expression, maybe expression of emptiness, something that is generated by or comes out of emptiness. So again, it isn't generated by emptiness in terms of being a cause, form of emptiness being a cause of the table, But because everything is empty, if you look at that whole emptiness, everything is empty, then things can arise and things cease and all these things happen. Yeah. This seemingly abstract relationship between form and emptiness is somewhat, not exactly, analogous to the relationship between material objects and space. Here it's talking about uncompounded space, the space that is the mere absence of obstructability and tangibility. Without empty space, material objects cannot exist. Space is the medium for the physical world. In other words, without uncompounded space, something can't occupy that space. Yeah. So, insofar as material objects can be said, in some sense, to be separate from the material space they occupy, whereas form and emptiness of form cannot, So form and emptiness and form are one nature, yeah? So they exist at the same time. They cannot be ever separated. But they are not exactly the same. In the Lankavatara Sutra, we find descriptions of 7 different senses in which something can be said to be empty. So this is nice. Now we're going to hear, other ways that you can understand the word empty, and then figure out which one works, where it applies here. Okay. So for our purposes, let us just examine 2 manners of being empty. So we'll simplify it. The first manner of being empty is known as emptiness of other, in the way that a temple may be empty of monks. Okay? Or the refrigerator is empty of food, your bank account is empty of money, yeah, things like that. Your inbox is empty of new emails. Okay. Yeah, so it's empty of something that is a totally different phenomena. The temple is empty of monks. Your stomach is empty of food. They're different things, okay? Yeah, so that's emptiness of other. Here, the emptiness of the temple is separate from what is being negated, which is the presence of monks. In contrast, when we say form is empty, we are negating an inherent essence of form. In other words, that is what the object of negation is. The manner of being empty is called emptiness of inherent existence. Okay? So in Tibetan, this is literally self-existence. That's, just another way to translate the term. We should not, however, understand this self-emptiness or emptiness of selfhood to mean that form is empty of itself. This would be tantamount to denying the reality of form, which, as we have been repeatedly emphasizing, these teachings do not do. Okay? So here it's saying that these teachings don't negate the conventional existence of form. Here, that's calling that conventional existence reality, the reality of form. So sometimes you'll hear people talk about two realities, conventional reality, ultimate reality. Okay, the ultimate reality is, the emptiness of inherent existence. And it is real, it is true in the sense that emptiness exists the way it appears to the mind directly perceiving it. So the mind that directly perceives emptiness perceives only emptiness. Okay? Whereas with conventional objects, which Jeffrey, we changed the translation instead of relative, conventional, to veiled objects. Yeah. And saying that they're veiled objects really emphasizes that these are objects that are true in the face of ignorance. And of course, ignorance misperceives everything. So only ignorance in its ignorance sees things as having an inherent nature. Okay. But that all the objects that we see veiled by our ignorant mind appear truly existent to us. Okay? But when there is a mind, a wisdom mind, that perceives my direct perceiver of the gong, yeah? Okay, so my eye consciousness, yeah, an inherently existent gong appears to that consciousness, okay, yeah. The visual consciousness does not grasp it as inherent existence, but the mental consciousness does. But the appearance of inherent existence to the visual consciousness is caused by the ignorance on the mental continuum, on just the mind in general, okay? So that ignorance veils, yeah? I see the gong through the veil of inherent existence, yeah? That is coming, that veil is a cognitive obscuration, yeah, that interferes with Buddhahood, and it is, something that has to be eliminated on the path. Okay? So when we talk about veiled truth, yeah, it means that it's called a truth in the sense that we can all agree this is a gong. Okay, it's not a tomato. Yeah, so when I hit it, it doesn't sprout tomato juice. Okay, and it doesn't upset Venerable Rinchen for wrecking all of her tomato plants and things like that. Okay, so, but the gong is a veiled truth, a conventional truth. Yeah, it does not appear as it exists to my visual consciousness because it appears truly existent, but it is not. Yeah. So there's a lot of different words here that have some common things. Yeah. So an object being true and an object being truly existent. They don't have the same meaning. The ultimate nature of an object and the ultimate truth, yeah, an ultimate consciousness, you have to kind of understand all these terms. Yeah. And it takes some time to figure out. Yeah. Okay. So, in contrast, when we say form is emptiness, we are negating an inherent essence of form. The manner of being empty is called emptiness of inherent existence. We should not, however, understand this self-emptiness or emptiness of selfhood to mean that form is empty of itself. This would be tantamount to denying the reality, the conventional, here reality means conventional existence of form, which isn't real in the sense of being true to the mind that perceives its ultimate nature. Okay? It'd be tantamount to denying the reality of form, which, as we have repeatedly emphasized, these teachings do not negate. Form is form. The reality of form, being form, is not being rejected. Only the independent and thus inherent existence of that reality is rejected. Thus, the fact that form is form does not contradict in any way the fact that form is emptiness. But form being, well, as I said, the fact that form is empty, but form being empty contradicts any thought that my visual consciousness is perceiving emptiness the way it exists. Yeah, because my visual consciousness is clouded by ignorance. In fact, every consciousness of sentient beings who are not in meditative equipoise, directly perceiving emptiness, has the false appearance of true existence. Okay, even there's a big debate about this, but what about an inferential realization of emptiness? You're perceiving emptiness, yeah? You're perceiving emptiness, so, is there still the veil of true existence? Because if there's the veil of true existence, then you can't be perceiving emptiness. Yeah? But it's that mind is perceiving emptiness. So there's a whole big debate about, this whole thing. But one resolution to the debate is that the empty, I love this, emptiness appears truly existent to that to that inferential realization of emptiness, but that true aspect of the appearance of being truly exists is not being perceived by that wisdom mind. So the emptiness is perceived as empty, not as truly exists, but that is appearing to the mind, but it's not being perceived. Okay. Yeah, we got all that straight? Good. Now you know the answer. When the debate comes up, you just say that. Yeah. Doesn't matter you understand what it means. Think about it. Think about it, yeah?
The true existence that the inferential cognizer kind of appears.
Yeah.
How is that? What is the difference between that and the meaning generality that the inferential cognizer accesses the emptiness true?
Okay.
What is the difference?
Yeah. The meaning generality or the conceptual appearance, yeah, is emptiness. The appearance of emptiness conceptually. But that's why they say that true existence appears, because, as far as I understand, those, whatever is appearing to the mind that is not a mind that is not a direct perceiver of emptiness has the appearance of true existence. So separating out the conceptual appearance and the appearance of true existence, I think that's going to be hard, because they usually say once you have a conceptual appearance, you're going to have the appearance of true existence. They're different, but how you pull them apart is different. Yeah. According, they say that conceptual appearances are negative phenomena. The appearance of true existence would be a positive phenomena, not a negative one, because it's an appearance. Okay, I put this on the Geshe question list to explain to you the difference. But, the gong is a positive phenomena. The emptiness of the gong is a negative phenomena. It's a negation, okay? The gong is something positive. As far as I understand, the appearance, whenever you talk about appearances, you're talking about something that is positive, a positive phenomena. But it's the conceptual appearance of emptiness. So it's beyond my pay grade to explain this in a way that's going to make sense, okay? Yeah. This is, yes.
Can an inferential realization be non-dual?
No, it's not non-dual.
It's not dual, so that would be part of the difference.
Yeah, it's not non-dual because it has the appearance of true existence. Yeah, and it has the appearance of the conventional object that it's empty of, but that conventional object is not appearing to that mind, even though it has the appearance of it. It is not appearing to that mind, and neither is the conceptual appearance of emptiness. Although what that mind is perceiving it's above my pay grade. Okay. Okay, so this is a crucial point, and it is worth reiterating. Emptiness does not imply non-existence. So you see, His Holiness isn't going into the question about the appearance of emptiness. He's emphasizing this thing, that saying things are empty does not mean nothing exists. Why is he doing that? Because it is very easy, not, intellectually, maybe we don't go, oh, nothing, oh, it's empty, so nothing exists, Intellectually, we may say that, but that doesn't really mean much to us, even though it's a wrong view, okay? But if you're meditating on the emptiness of the self, and you get some glimpse of that, even conceptually, then because your whole way, whole previous way of thinking of yourself is gone, you're seeing that the self is empty of how you usually think of yourself. That is really jarring, or it can be really jarring. Yeah. And that is why we need a lot of accumulation of merit to realize emptiness correctly. Because if we don't have that accumulation of merit, we're going to go to everything is non-existent, Because all of a sudden, when, it's like, oh, well, the whole way I thought of myself, that I didn't even realize this was the way I thought of myself. This isn't who, I can't find that person, it doesn't exist. Then it's very easy then to say, oh, well, then I don't exist at all. If I don't exist the way I thought I existed, then I don't exist at all. Okay? And I think in some way this relates to people's fear of death. Yeah? Is you're afraid that when you die, like, everything ceases. Yeah. Yeah. So, in a way, the conventional person, and when I die, Chodron ceases to exist. Yeah. But the continuum of Chodron goes on, but I don't, because the I, Chodron, is designated on the body-mind of this life. Death is when the mind separates. Yeah. So we may often talk about somebody's corpse as if the person, she's, you go to a wake, she or he is over there in the corner. Like it's a person. It's not a person, it's a corpse. Okay? Yeah, a corpse is not a person. Okay. Emptiness does not imply non-existence. Emptiness implies the emptiness of inherent existence, which necessarily implies dependent arising. Boom! This is the point. Okay? That when things are empty, because things exist, how do they exist? They exist dependently. Okay? Because things exist dependently, they don't have an inherent nature, therefore they are empty. So dependent and arising complement each other. They are not exactly the same, but they complement each other. Okay? Dependence and interdependence are the nature of all things. Things and phenomena into being, phenomena come into being only, there's a word missing. Okay, phenomena come into being only as a result of causes and conditions. Emptiness makes the law of causes and effect possible. Now, somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute, is emptiness empty? Yes, it is. Oh, then emptiness comes into existence due to causes and conditions? No, emptiness is a permanent phenomena. Well, wait a minute, here it says, all phenomena, and emptiness is a phenomena, come into only result of causes and conditions. Here doesn't mean emptiness is not a product, it's not produced. It's the ultimate nature of things, okay? It comes into existence when that object comes into existence. But it is not produced. It is simply the absence of an inherent existence, of an inherent nature in that object. Okay? Emptiness makes the law of cause and effect possible. So because things are empty, cause and effect works, dependent arising works. Because things are dependent, they are empty. Yeah. And emptiness itself is empty. Mm-hmm. And emptiness itself is a dependent arising. So emptiness is the one thing that is both a dependent arising and emptiness. Okay? We can express all of this in yet another way in the following chain of reasoning. All things arise or originate dependently. I don't like the word originate because to me it implies like a first beginning, which there isn't, okay? All things arise dependently. Because all things arise, and here, when we're saying emptiness is a dependent arising, arise does not mean produced. Here arise means comes into existence. So here's another instance of one word having two different meanings and different things. Usually it means rise, it means come due to causes and conditions, but here, emptiness is a dependent arising. It means that emptiness depends on its parts. Emptiness exists, okay? Okay. Because things originate dependently, one can observe cause and effect. cause and effect are only possible in a world that is dependent arising. And dependent arising is only possible in a world that is devoid of inherent existence, which is to say, in a world that is empty of inherent existence. Therefore, we can say emptiness is form, which is another way of saying that form arises from emptiness. And emptiness is the basis that allows the dependent arising of form. Thus, the world of form is a manifestation of emptiness. So here it's explaining what that line means. Emptiness of form does not mean emptiness and form are exactly the same thing. Okay? Yeah, we can say that emptiness is form, which is another way of saying that form arises within emptiness. Sometimes it says from emptiness, but and you hear when you do tantra practices, Tompa Nidugyo, everything becomes empty, from emptiness the letter hum arises. It's not that everything becomes empty. Everything is already empty. It means your mind is seeing its emptiness. Okay? And when it says, from emptiness, the deity arises, it doesn't mean that emptiness is the substantial cause of the deity, It means that within everything being empty, that allows for the dependent arising of the deity. Okay? So it also doesn't mean, because you hear, the deity rises out of emptiness. Then you get this idea, well, there's emptiness, and then poof, something arises out of emptiness that is the deity. But, or does that mean that emptiness itself becomes the deity? No. It's because things are empty that the deity can arise. Yeah. When you're doing self-generation, it's the wisdom realizing emptiness that you think arises as the deity. Okay, not emptiness itself, but the wisdom realizing emptiness and emptiness are one nature. They are inseparable, but they are not identical. Okay. Yeah, and so when it says thus a world of form, the world of form is a manifestation of emptiness. That's what manifestation means. It just means it arises within that. And I think that's a much better way to think than it arises from emptiness. Yeah, because that from emptiness, it sounds like the emptiness of form already exists and then form jumps out of it. No, that's not the way it is. They come into existence simultaneously. It is important to clarify that we are not speaking of emptiness as some kind of absolute stratum of reality. So this is the point that I was making from before. Akin to say the ancient Indian concept of Brahman, which is conceived to be an underlying absolute reality from which the illusory world of multiplicity emerges. Okay? Or it's the same in the Samkhyas. There's some fundamental substance from which everything arises. Yeah? Emptiness is not a core reality lying somewhere at the heart of the universe. Yeah? From which the diversity of phenomena arise. So it's not like emptiness is something that exists within the Big Bang. And then when the Big Bang happened, emptiness appeared as the universe. It doesn't mean that. Okay, emptiness is not a substance that transforms into a substance, because emptiness is permanent. Okay. Where was I? So although emptiness is itself not the product of causes and conditions, when a basis for identifying emptiness no longer exists, the emptiness of that thing also ceases to exist. Okay. Furthermore, let me start at the beginning of that paragraph. Furthermore, since emptiness can only be understood, did I skip something else? I'm there? Yeah. What? Furthermore?
Emptiness can only be conceived of in relation to.
Oh, sure,
The ones that you highlight in yellow.
emptiness can only be conceived of in relationship to individual things and events. For example, when we speak of the emptiness of a form, we are talking about the individual ultimate reality of that form, the fact that it is empty of inherent reality. Okay, that emptiness is the ultimate nature of that form. Emptiness exists only as a quality of a particular phenomena. Emptiness does not exist separately and independently of particular phenomena. So therefore, it's not that, emptiness is out there somewhere in the universe. It's the ultimate nature, yeah? Okay, the emptiness, we can only talk about emptiness in terms of individual objects that are empty, and when that individual object is produced by causes and conditions, its emptiness also comes into existence. But that emptiness is not produced by causes and conditions. Furthermore, since emptiness can only be understood as ultimate reality in relation to individual phenomena, individual things and events, okay? Yeah. When an individual phenomena ceases to exist, the emptiness of that phenomena also ceases to exist. So although emptiness is not itself the product of causes and conditions, when a basis of identifying emptiness no longer exists, the emptiness of that thing also ceases to exist. Okay? So emptiness is not produced by the causes and conditions of an object. Yeah. The fact that the object is produced by causes and conditions, that is the cause of the object ceasing. Because the causes are changing all the time, the result is always changing. And that means the result is always ceasing. Okay? So the object that is empty is produced by causes and conditions, and it ceases due to causes and conditions. Okay? But the emptiness that is the ultimate nature of that object does not arise due to causes and conditions, and it does not cease due to causes and conditions, but it comes into being at the same time as the empty object comes into being, and it ceases at the same time as the object, which is empty, ceases. Okay? So, so the phrase, emptiness is not other than form, form too is not other than emptiness, indicates the necessity of understanding the Buddha's teaching on the two truths. The first of these two truths is the conventional or veiled or relative truth of the world, the truth of everyday convention, meaning everyday how we deal with things around us. While the second ultimate truth is the truth arrived at through analysis into the ultimate mode of being of things. Okay. Okay, so Nagarjuna makes reference to this in his Fundamentals of the Middle Way. He says, the teachings revealed by the Buddhas are done so in terms of the two truths, the conventional or veiled truth and of the world and the ultimate truth. Okay, so we perceive conventional truth, that is, the relative world in all its diversity, through our everyday use of mind and our sense faculties. However, it is only through penetrating analysis that we are able to perceive the ultimate truth, the true nature of things, of phenomena. To perceive this is to perceive the suchness of phenomena, their ultimate mode of being, which is the ultimate truth about the nature of reality. Although many Indian schools of thought, both Buddhist and non-Buddhist, understand the nature of reality in terms of the two truths. Yeah, the way they define the two truths is different. The more subtle understanding entails the realization of the two truths not as separate, independent realities, but rather as two aspects of a single reality. It is essential that we clearly grasp this point. Okay. So let me just see. Okay, I have some notes here. Wait a minute. Come on. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get this box bigger so that I can perceive it. Okay, so here I want to read some things from the Library of Wisdom and Compassion about the two truths. Okay, so His Holiness says, this is in another book, it helps us to understand that the everyday functioning of phenomena in the world is compatible with their emptiness of objective existence. Dependent arising and emptiness are not only compatible, but also mutually reinforce each other. Emptiness does not negate veiled truths such as karma and its effects, or the method side of the path. So that's quite important, yeah? You know, so just because things are empty, it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean non-existence. So you can't turn around and say, oh, there's no law of karma and its effect. It's empty. There's good, positive is empty, negative is empty, good is empty, bad is empty. It's all empty. So there's no need to follow the law of cause and effect. Yeah, I can do anything I want because I'm empty. There's no me that's creating the cause. There's no me that's going to experience a result. It's all empty. That sounds so good when you toss around a bunch of words that you have no idea what in the world you're saying. Okay, which we often do. Yeah, we know a few words and then we just toss them out and it sounds really good. Okay. Yeah, every time I hear this, I think of, one meeting of Western Buddhist teachers, and in the middle of it, they were talking about something, I don't know what it was, but one person stands up and takes not a zafu, which is light, but a zavutam, which is big and heavy, and throws it, and throws another zavutam, and everybody's like, what's going on? And she says, this is crazy wisdom, I'm illustrating crazy wisdom. And well, yes, it was crazy. I don't know about the wisdom part, but it was crazy. But you know, people can misunderstand what Trungpa meant by crazy wisdom by thinking, oh, it means, you know, good isn't really good, virtuous karma is not really virtuous, it's empty, so it doesn't really exist. Yeah, so that's not the meaning, yeah. Okay, so first, talking about the two truths helps our first, okay. So when we talk about emptiness coming into existence, when the object coming into existence arises, and it's ceasing when the object ceases, okay? Or when you say the emptiness ceases, it goes out of existence. So first, that helps us to understand the everyday, talking about two truths, helps us understand the everyday functioning of things in the world is compatible with their emptiness, okay? Second, the two truths are different objects, and understanding both is valuable, useful, and necessary to attain awakening. Understanding them helps us balance and combine the practice of the method aspect of the path and the wisdom aspect of the path. Okay, so things exist, but they're empty. You have the veiled truth that are dependent arising, and you have the ultimate nature empty. We need to understand both, okay? And they don't negate each other. So this again is really important, because if people think that they're, you know, that the ultimate reality and the veiled reality or conventional reality are two separate objects, two separate things, then you could very easily say, well, all I need to do is meditate on emptiness, and that's the whole path. Yeah, I don't need to accumulate merit, I don't need to purify, I don't need to even generate renunciation. But that's not correct. Okay. An object found by a direct perceiver of the true is a phenomena that exists the way it appears. It is an ultimate truth. So here, truth means exists the way something appears, okay? So emptiness exists the way it appears to a mind that is cognizing emptiness directly. Okay, emptiness is empty. An object seen by the perceivers of the false by an awareness under the influence of ignorance, so that's what we perceive, is a veiled truth or a conventional truth. These objects are falsities because they do not exist the way they appear. They appear truly existent, although they are not. When we say that veiled truths appear truly existent, it may sound like that false appearance is projected by the object itself, but an apple and the jet plane don't cause themselves to appear truly existent. That happens because of the latency of grasping at true existence that is already on the mind stream. Okay, so veiled truths, conventional truths exist, but they are false. Okay, they are not true because they do not exist the way they appear. But it is true that they are false. In other words, the word true has different meanings in different contexts. When you are talking about lying, we are not talking about the emptiness of somebody's speech. We are talking about conventionally, is somebody saying what is true conventionally? Okay, yeah. So if I lie and say this is a tomato, you know, and it's just because of your bad karma that you don't see it as a tomato, you know, and I am a deity and it's just because of your negative karma that you don't recognize that. You know, that is the gong is false, but the statement is also false. Okay, false means different things in those two things. The statement being false is talking about conventionally how we define true and false. I am not a deity, this isn't a tomato. Okay, but the gong is a false object because it appears truly existent, and I am also a false object because I appear truly existent. Okay? So true and false have different meanings in different situations. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so there's something else I wanted to say about this paragraph. But it is true that we have lunch in 3 minutes, but it is probably conventionally false that the food will be on the table in 3 minutes. Can I go on? Okay, yeah. It's true that nobody is saying no, so I will go on, and it'll be true that we eat a little later. Okay, so just I wanted again to talk about something coming from one of His Holiness's other books. Oops, what happened to it? Okay. Okay, if I click it there, it shows. If I ask AI, I do not agree to AI helping me. Get out of here, AI. I just want to read the note. Ask AI. How do I get rid of AI? Okay, well, I'll try and read this the best I can. And it is not AI. This is what His Holiness said. Okay, so another way we had that form. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form also is not emptiness. So that, another way to look at those, they're called the 4 profundities. So there's another way of looking at them. Here, form is empty, is proof of the emptiness. Okay? So you say form is empty, that means that, it's the profundity of the ultimate. Form is empty. Okay? Saying emptiness is form is called the profundity of the conventional, which we will get into next session. 3, the profundity of the true truths is when we say emptiness is not other than form. Okay, so that's saying that they're the same entity, the same nature. And profundity of the two truths, so that was the profundity of the two truths being the same entity. Or the same nature. And then the 4th profundity is the profundity of the two truths being nominally distinct. Form is not other than emptiness. They are nominally distinct. They're one nature, but when we talk about them, we use different words when the meaning of them is different. But you can't separate them when you look at form. But you can separate AI and me. I'm on a divorce. Some people are running after AI. I don't trust AI. We've asked AI a few questions, and it gives totally wrong answers sometimes. It is quite dangerous. So I'm very skeptical of that. And especially it kind of comes up. You want to explain something, and AI comes up saying, I know what's best, I'll explain it for you. And you don't want that, because do you think AI understands the meaning of form is empty, emptiness is form? Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. Does AI understand that? Yeah? AI, you have to plug into some electricity to get it to work. It is a dependent phenomena. Okay, so that was just introducing what you call the 4 profundities, but we'll get into them a little more a little bit later. Okay. So,
Where are they in then?
what?
Which volume are?
It's going to be in either 7, 8, or 9. The two truths is explained more in 9. So you might look there first. What?
Page 6.
Page 6? Volume 9. Okay. Good. Somebody's looking these things up before I even say anything. Fantastic. Okay. So, no, it's a human being that did it. Okay. So we will start next week with traditions of interpretation, right? Okay.